Hello, BookTube, and welcome to your Wednesday comics, one day delayed. Yesterday was Wednesday. I didn't make any videos yesterday, and one of the things that I like to do on Wednesday is Wednesday comics, because Wednesday is new release day for comic books in the United States, and I don't know how long that's going to continue. I don't know how imperiled that's going to be. Comic shops, I imagine, would be vulnerable to being closed, to just closing, with if some sort of soft quarantine is imposed in Massachusetts. I can't imagine that comic shops would make the list of places that get to stay open. But for right now, the shelves have new releases every Wednesday, and usually these days, probably in the last 10 years or so, with limited exceptions here and there, I tend not to get any of the floppy single issue comics that come to comic stores on Wednesday. I don't know if it's me or if it's the zeitgeist of the industry, but these things tend not to appeal to me. They're Marvel and DC, the two main superhero publishing companies, have fallen hook, line, and sinker for gigantic multi-part epic storylines that are hard to follow and often can't sustain that many chapters, so that individual interstitial chapters will be boring. And the payoff at the end is poor because you've got 10 people writing the thing. Or the characters have changed to the point where they're not only completely different from the versions that I knew and loved, but also hostile to those versions. So that the single issues tend not to appeal to me. So what I tend to do on Wednesdays is go for the collected editions, softcover graphic novels, hardcover commemorative omnibuses, that sort of thing. Marvel and DC both do a large amount of those, and those are reprints of older stuff that I know I love. So I don't begrudge the money at all, especially since the older copies that I have of those issues that I bought 40 and 50 years ago are falling apart. I've read them so many times. I have them in long boxes in the kitchen that they're falling apart. So they're due to be replaced with a book. I'm still going to reread these issues, but then I would have it in a format that would last a little longer. But today was an exception. Today, I saw the graphic novels at my local comic shop, my Newbury Comics. I saw the hardcovers and the paperback graphic novels. None of them really appealed to me. The one that I would have got was a magnificent thing called Wonder Woman, Truth, by Alex Ross, drawn by the great artist Alex Ross. It was an oversized thing. It was a reprint in hardcover that DC Comics did this week. But it was a reprint of a softcover that I already have, of just a big, oversized Wonder Woman adventure that's just fantastic. However, there was a single issue comic, and I didn't have to go far from Alex Ross, because this is his thing. I guess this is his thing. We saw this already, where Alex Ross, the artist, became sort of the impresario of an anthology collection of comics. And I guess that's going forward. But this looks to be something else that he has started. Some vision of his. I'm going to have to read up on it. I still haven't done that. So I'm still not sure what the organizing ethos of all of this is. But this is, number one, this is Marvel Snapshots, number one, with an Alex Ross cover. And that, of course, is Prince Namor, the Submariner, who is one of the founding characters of Marvel Comics. Came out right around the same time as the Human Torch. Not the young member of the Fantastic Four, but the original Human Torch, an android who bursts into flame upon contact with the air. And then a little later, Captain America. But the Human Torch and the Submariner are the Marvel characters from back when it was Timely Comics. And this is an Alex Ross drawing of that very early Prince Namor, who had blue trunks and a sort of triangular head with a flat top on it. Namor has looked subtly different over the 80 years that he's been published by Marvel Comics. But this is a snapshot. It's a one and done storyline. The series, I guess, is called Marvel Snapshots. And this is written by Alan Brennert and drawn by the great Jerry Ordway. Such a treat. I would have got, no matter what it was, I would have got it anyway for the artwork of Jerry Ordway, who's terrific. Absolutely terrific. No stupid tracery, complete craft, complete understanding of the dynamics of his panels. None of the stuff that I usually see in Marvel Comics artwork. Instead, it's just beautiful. Of course, in this case, it's also beautifully colored by Espen Grundet Jørn. See, now that's what I'm talking about. Most of the artists and writers at Marvel Comics these days, and at DC Comics these days, have names like that I don't know and would never remember. They sound like something out of the Klingon dictionary. But Jerry Ordway goes back forever, and he's been a favorite artist of mine forever. And this is a storyline. The story takes place right after World War II. Everybody has come back from the theater of war, including superheroes, including the Marvels, the superheroes of the Marvel Universe at the time. And other people who have come back are Betty Dean and her brothers, who've all come back from the war. Betty Dean was a reporter during the war and went all over, and was also sort of informally known as the Submariner's girlfriend. We've actually seen her in a couple of Comic Book Wednesdays in the past, at various points in her story arc. This is a simple story. It starts out very simple, where she's been in touch with Prince Namor, and he wants to go on an outing, a date, basically, with her during the day. He wants to go someplace fun. And she takes him to Palisades Park. He wants to know what is the line he wants to know when she says that she's going to take him to an amusement park. He asks, "Are we going to Coney Island?" And she says, "No, this one you didn't try to destroy," because in Prince Namor's early days, before he joined Captain America's super team, the Invaders, and fought against the Nazis, he fought against humans just in general. Because the character is, as Marvel marketing had it in the 1980s, Marvel's first mutant. Prince Namor's mother was a princess of the undersea world of Atlantis, where everyone has green skin and black iris-free eyes, and they live underwater, so they're extra tough and durable. And she fell in love with a lighthouse keeper who was a human and married him, and they had a baby. And if that sounds familiar, that is the origin of Aquaman, but Prince Namor got there first. And Prince Namor, the result of that union, doesn't look anything like an Atlantean. He's white-skinned, and he's amphibious. He's not aquatic. He can live indefinitely on land. He gets weaker on land, but he doesn't die. He doesn't asphyxiate. And he has other differences as well. He has tiny wings on his ankles. You can barely make them out in this Alex Ross drawing, that somehow give him the power of flight. No other Atlantean has that ability. And Submariner is also incredibly strong. Far, far stronger than a normal Atlantean, and far more durable. A normal Atlantean is tough because they're bred for the bottom of the ocean, but the Submariner is one of the strongest characters in the Marvel Universe. When he's fully hydrated, he can lift 85 tons, and he's bulletproof. And a lot of other stuff proof. He's basically invulnerable. Those qualities get weaker as he loses hydration, but they don't entirely go away. And in addition to all of that, Prince Namor also has something else that sets him apart. He has never been a hero. He's a bit of a jerk. In his first appearance in a Marvel Comics, he just routinely kills 2 scuba divers. He doesn't know who they are. He just crushes their heads. He doesn't care one way or another. It's only when he is basically domesticated through the intercession of Betty Dean, and also through the civilizing effect of Captain America, that he starts to become a kind of hero. And we have to keep in mind in these early stories that Prince Namor is very young. And that plays a strong part in this issue, because when they're walking around Palisades Park, Betty Dean is naturally joshing with him, and he's joshing back with her. He's in a good mood, which is rare. And Betty Dean says in this issue a couple of times that knowing him, one character says knowing him is like encountering a landmine. You don't notice it until it goes off. She says at the end of this issue that just being Namor's friend is a kind of war. And that's great. I was worried about that going into this issue. I was worried that Alan Brennert, or Alex Ross as the overseer of this series, would lose track of or forget that aspect of Prince Namor, that he's not predictable. He's not a four-square hero. You don't know where he's going to where his reactions are going to be, and that's all throughout this issue, which is terrific. It's just terrific because when they're joshing, Betty Dean asks him, "Well, how old are you going to get? How old do Atlanteans live?" And he tells her that his grandfather is currently 600 years old. And that since Prince Namor is half Atlantean, he could live half that long or twice that long. Nobody knows. But it suddenly dawns on Betty Dean that no matter what, no matter how things work, there's no hope for them to grow old together. He's going to live far longer than she does, which leads right into a great Submariner story from the 1970s that I've shown you, where Namor in the present day is calmed down from a rampage by an older Betty Dean, who breaks down in tears at the end of the issue because Prince Namor hasn't aged, and she has. But in the course of their time at Palisades Park, they encounter a villain, of course, an armored thug who starts to endanger everybody at the park, and Prince Namor loses his temper with the guy who has collaborated with the Nazis before and has a weird past with the Submariner. This particular character, Veril Shark, has a weird past with Submariner. At one point in an early adventure in the 70s, he took as a trophy of his battle with the Submariner the Submariner shorts. It's not really the thing, is it, to take the shorts off a character as a trophy? But anyway, Submariner loses his temper with this guy and stops paying attention to whether or not he's endangering civilians. And the All-Winter Squad, the invaders, the version of the invaders that they became once they demobilized from Europe, Captain America, Bucky, the Human Torch, Toro, Miss America, and the Whizzer, a super fast character, they all show up on the scene to help out. And there was one part of it that I really, really liked, which is that Captain America just offhandedly refers to Miss America as the strongest person that they have to deal with the armored Nazi. The rest of them will deal with Prince Namor. She's the strongest member to deal with the armored Nazi. And that's great, because Miss America's typical depiction in Marvel Comics is a superhero who can fly. And that's all. But her origin story says that in addition to the power of flight, she also gains the strength of 1,000 men. And if we say that the average man can lift 100 pounds, that means she can lift 50 tons. Which is no small shakes. That is great. I would like it if this character had always been portrayed that way. But when Roy Thomas, the dean of World War II superheroes for Marvel Comics, wrote The Invaders forever, it's a great series. It's not in print anymore, but when he wrote The Invaders forever and ever, whenever Miss America appeared, all she could do was fly. She was not super strong. And now I'm hoping that's canon. I don't know if we'll ever see this character again. But it turns out that the reason that Prince Namor is losing his temper against this two-bit thug is because he's having flashbacks, basically PTSD, of his time liberating Bitburg, the concentration camp, the death pits of Nazi concentration camps. And it's all wonderfully done. It's not saccharine, it's not pandering, it's totally believable. And it's helped by Jerry Ordway's artwork. The panel where Prince Namor remembers the burial pits that he encounters, just amazing. And Namor stays in character. He breaks down for a minute, and then when Betty Dean suggests, well, my brothers are going through the same kind of trauma, maybe you need some help, he flies off. Because a prince of the realm doesn't need help. And she loses her temper. She says, why does it always end like this? You get too close and you run or swim or fly away, leaving me behind. Leaving me, the one who always has to talk you down, who defends you, believes in you, loves you when no one else does. And then she realizes that she's going through a little bit of herself, obviously, if she's having an outbreak like that at Palisade Park in front of strangers. No, that's the thing I loved, is that the thorny nature of Prince Namor's character is preserved in this issue. Thing and also Miss America is given her due as a powerful hero. But the thing that sort of I didn't dislike it, but it gave me a question, is that nowhere in this issue does the writer Alan Brennert seem to be aware that this is not Steve Rogers, who's Captain America. This is the sequence. This is his successor. The original Captain America and Bucky are presumed dead at this time, and I don't know that Alan Brennert. I think he was trying to just sort of glaze over that, or maybe he doesn't know it, because his Captain America acts completely in character in this issue, without anyone seeming to nod in any direction of him being basically a stranger to his teammates. But one way or another, this was my floppy issue for this week, and it was a total success. I loved it. And we're told that the next issue features, I think, the original Human Torch. So that's great. I hope it's drawn by Jerry Ordway. That'd be too much to hope for, but we shall see. But either way, I don't know if that'll be next week, but we'll resume our comics next Wednesday. I hope I won't miss next Wednesday, and we'll see what comes out then. So I will wrap this up for now, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.